Hello everyone, welcome to today's show. We have a great show for you today. My name is Spencer Walsh. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We are packed as usual. And here's what we got today. Donald Trump held a wild press conference that's probably going to break your brain in the end. So we're going to play some of the clips from that. We're going to talk about how and what to watch at the Kavanaugh Ford hearing, because that is today, so you're going to have some fun with that. Also today, you can take a look at we're going to break down Christine Blasey Ford's written testimony, get very quickly into a new allegation against Brett Kavanaugh, again from an anonymous complaint from 1998. That seems a little weird. We're also going to take a look at Kavanaugh's dark money pals, and the UN laughed at Trump. We'll find out why. We'll find out why they did that, because Nikki Haley is going to tell us why, and this is going to be pretty good. So, yeah, it's a little bit of follow-up to our last story of the day yesterday. So, yeah, so as we know, President Donald Trump held one of his trademark, rare 80-minute press conferences on Wednesday, where he ranted, rambled, and desperately attempted to spin the mounting allegations of sexual assault against his Supreme Court nominee, Brett Kavanaugh. It was pretty bad. So, after brief remarks regarding his agenda at the UN General Assembly, he faced a barrage of questions, obviously of his support for Kavanaugh. And, ladies and gentlemen, I think you know what time it is. It's clip time, because we got some clips to play. So first, we're talking about Kavanaugh. So President Trump says there's nothing to investigate from at least one standpoint of the FBI in a sexual assault allegation. It's not for the FBI. They don't do this. So, yes, they do, A. And B, are you telling me there's nothing to investigate? Now, four people have accused him of some type of sexual assault or harassment. In the case of Debbie Ramirez, you're about to appoint a person who's going to decide law in this country, to a position that will decide law in this country for 30 years, and that is incredible. That they don't want an investigation of that. The Republicans, all in all, they don't want an investigation for credible allegations. And yes, these are credible allegations, whether you like it or not. You have to admit that. That there are some serious issues about whether you're going to appoint someone to the Supreme Court, someone who, literally the highest court in the land, has life or death impact for people, and it's not even going to. You're not going to investigate if there could be real creep, sexual assault / harassers for a good point in their lives. You don't want. That's a big deal to the Supreme Court. The fact that people don't want an investigation for that is crazy to me. All right, so we're trying to play President Trump there for you for a little bit, but it's okay. So it seems like we had a little bit of a audio issue there. We'll rewind that back.
Investigated Judge Kavanaugh 6 times, 5 times, many times over the years. They know him very well. But here there was nothing to investigate from at least one standpoint. They didn't know the location. They didn't know the time. They didn't know the year. They didn't know anything. And it's like,
they know the year. They know the place.
For the FBI, if you look at what Joe Biden said, he said they don't do this. And he said it very clearly. So I think when you really look at it all, it's not going to change any of the Democrats' minds. They're obstructionists. They're actually con artists, because they know how quality this man is, and they've destroyed a man's reputation, and they want to destroy it even more. And I think people are going to see that in the midterms, what they've done to this family, what they've done to these children, these beautiful children of his, and what they've done to his wife. And they know it's a big, fat con job.
Okay, yeah, so that is, how about what he's done to Christine Blasey Ford? How about what he's done to Debbie Ramirez? How about what he's done to Svetnik and any of that? So let's get real. And the fact that we have this same situation coming up again, the same sort of situation. He was drunk, he was at a party, all that. It's very worrying. It just comes up. It's the same type of thing now, over and over again. He also insisted that despite not knowing anything about Wednesday's charge, that Julie Swetnick that Kavanaugh had been present at her gang rape in 1982. He was sure that Svetnik's attorney Michael Avenatti was alive. Yeah, so here is what he says about that. So, but still, just talking a little bit more about the last couple, he's just so unaware of what's going on. And, like, the fact that he's like, what they done to the beautiful children, to Kavanaugh. It's like, he acts like so many people in the country care about Kavanaugh. Like, they just don't care about Brett Kavanaugh. They didn't know who he is till Trump nominated him. And half of them don't even want him to confirm, to be on the court, which is a huge number. And that is something that's like, that's mind-blowing. And the fact that Trump's like, oh, they do trying to stir up sympathies for the kids. No one cares. I wouldn't do that for you. I wouldn't do that if I were you. So yeah, it's probably not the best to push for sympathy on this guy. I don't think it's going to work. And I mean, obviously I support a full and fair investigation of the allegations. If they turn out to be false, they turn out to be false, and it looks embarrassing for the Democrats. But something tells me I don't think these people would start coming out again. 2, 3, 4 people now, if there wasn't something really to them.
First of all, do you think these women, all 3 of them, are liars? Yes or no?
Have they been what?
Are they liars?
I can't tell you. I have to watch tomorrow. I have to read. I just heard about one a little while ago. I can tell you her lawyer is a lowlife, okay? So I can't tell you whether or not they're liars until I hear them. I don't know what happened today because I've been very busy with Japan, with South Korea, with China, and about 7 other countries, as you know. And I chaired the Security Council.
What a big boy.
I don't know about today's person that came forward. I do know about the lawyer. And you don't get much worse, bad reputation to take a look at his past. So as far as the other women are concerned, I'm going to see what happens tomorrow. I'm going to be watching. Believe it or not, I'm going to see what's said. So it's possible that they will be convincing. Now, with all of that being said, Judge Brett Kavanaugh has been for many years one of the most respected people in Washington. He's been on, I guess you'd call it, the second highest court. And every single person knows him. A lot of people know him well.
All right, so yeah, that's what he says there. And the interesting thing is, being respected in Washington is really not a good look really anymore. Like, if you're like Hillary Clinton was respected in Washington, how'd that turn out for her? Like, she was viewed as the most qualified candidate in Washington. She was viewed as the top candidate. She was the candidate who was going to win. But then Donald Trump comes in, and he's like, hey. But, yeah. So that's a lot of things sometimes like just people don't consider. Yeah, so perhaps one of the wildest moments of the press conference came, and by the way, I love how Trump just, like, dismissively, like, passes off to, like, Michael Avenatti. He's like, just look at his past. He's a low life. This is a little weird. All right, so yeah, so probably one of the wildest moments of the press conference came when Trump was asked about the multiple allegations of sexual assault that had been made against him over the years, rather than expanding upon how those allegations might color his feelings regarding Kavanaugh. Trump took an opportunity to trash his accusers.
Let me follow up on Jim's question. Mr. President, let me follow up on Jim's question that I don't think we got an answer to.
Which one? Which question?
How have your personal experiences being accused by more than a dozen
I've been accused.
women
I've been accused. False accusations.
Right.
Excuse me.
How have those...
I've been accused. And I was accused by, I believe it was 4 women. You can check with Sean Hannity. You can check with Fox, because they covered it very strongly. Who got paid? Excuse me. I was accused by 4 or 5 women who got paid a lot of money to make up stories about me. We caught them, and the mainstream media refused to put it on television. They refused to even write about it. There were 4 women, and maybe more. I think the number is 4 or 5. But one had a mortgage paid off her house, $52,000. Another one had other things happen. And the one that reported it, I believe, was offered $750,000 to say bad things about me. And she is the one that reported it. This woman is incredible. She reported it instead of taking the money. So I've had numerous accusations about me. Right. They made false statements about me. knowing they were false. I never met them. I never met these people. And what did they do? What did they do? They took money in order to say bad things. I've had stories written in the New York Times front page about 4 women, the whole top center front page of the New York Times. I think it was 4 big pictures. I said, wow, that's a big thing. What's that? These were women that were quoted saying bad things about me. Not the worst things about me, but bad things. And I said, gee, that's too bad. I knew him a long time ago.
Yeah, so that's what he's talking about there. I don't want to play the whole thing because we're going to have like a 20,000-minute show. Anyway, yeah, so then Trump circled back to Kavanaugh's allegations, directly insisting his calling the alleged assaults a con job wasn't a bad term at all, and claimed women were always so angry about the campaign against Kavanaugh. They were really angry. They all really they all really support the man in the situation, who they've never really heard of before, and probably a good portion of them still don't know about.
Are you at all concerned at the message that has been being sent to the women who are watching this when you use language like con job in relation to allegations
I've used
of
much
sexual
worse
assault?
language in my life than con job. That's like probably the nicest phrase I've ever used. I mean, con job. It is. It's a con job. You know, confidence. It's a confidence job, but it's a con job by the Democrats. They know it.
What about the message that's being
They
sent
did the
to
same
women
thing
who are
with the
watching?
Russia investigation. They tried to convince people that I had something to do with Russia. There was no collusion. Think of it. I'm in Wisconsin. I'm in Michigan. I say, gee, we're not doing well. I won both those states. We're not doing well. Let me call the Russians to help. Does anybody really believe that? It's a con job. And I watch these guys.
Yeah, so you get the point there. And yes, and he later denied he felt a kinship with Kavanaugh. He denied that he claimed he felt a kinship with Kavanaugh before lauding his nominee as a tremendous genius. The awful... I'm sure he actually said that he felt a kinship with Kavanaugh, which is actually quite funny considering, again, the allegation against him, what he's caught saying on the campaign trail with Billy Bush, as I'm sure you know, the bus tape. And the awfulness of the occasion could be summed up by the last exchange, when Trump was asked what kind of message his support was, again, sending to young men with the support for Kavanaugh. His answer was a mismatch of repeating his claim about con job, as you just heard. And he's lamented that it's a very dangerous standard for people who are guilty until proven innocent. He also called him a Kurdish reporter by referring to him as Mr. Kurd, and claimed Obama almost got the United States into a war that would have killed millions of people, and said China respected his very large brain. Of course, that's just some great stuff. Yeah, we spent quite a long time on that. So we're going to need to move on now to the Kavanaugh Ford hearing. Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh is scheduled to appear before a Senate Judiciary Committee on Thursday, September 2017, as will Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, who will testify that Kavanaugh sexually assaulted her at a house party in the 1980s while the pair were in high school. The hearing will come one day after Julie Swetnick publicly alleged that Kavanaugh was present during her gang rape in 1982, and that she saw him engage in highly inappropriate conduct with other women at house parties around the same time. Swetnick's claim follows that of Kavanaugh's former classmate at Yale, Deborah Ramirez, who says Kavanaugh pushed his penis into her face during a dorm room drinking game while the pair were students at Yale University. It's from Splinter there. Ford's testimony will be likely one of the most watched Senate events ever since, not ever since, anyway, Anita Hill's 1991 hearing, during which the Hill testified that then Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas sexually harassed her while working under him at the U.S. Department of Education. Thomas was ultimately confirmed by a margin of 52 to 48 to the Supreme Court. As such, the stakes for Thursday's hearing was incredibly high, not just for Ford and Kavanaugh themselves, but for a country grappling with its inability to hold the powerful men accountable of sexual misdeeds. And yeah, so this is how it's going to start. It's going to start with Chuck Grassley talking, then I'll start with Dianne Feinstein talking. Those are two, the head of the committee, the chairman of the committee, Chuck Grassley, and then ranking member Dianne Feinstein. They're going to make something called opening remarks. Then at 10 a.m., Blasey Ford is going to come out with a statement, or no time limit prescribed.